Last week I started the prop firm challenge, expecting it to be pretty straightforward. It wasn't. I ended up being down $10 on the account and having a hard time holding my trades. So this week I came in with something to prove. Let's get into it. So on Monday, conditions suggested bearishness, with price below previous day value and VWAP sloping lower. However, there was no liquidity below, so I was feeling more inclined to wait for price to flip bullish and align with higher time frame conditions. I eventually decided to long with price holding above a major support level, but I got spiked out of my position super quickly. Yeah, that looked pretty personal. I decided to reload into it, as the trade idea still held. And I did something dumb. I took a partial. My runner eventually got stopped out, so I wasn't correct on the call, and that partial I took helped me recover my first loss to come out neutral on the day. But I want to be honest about something I wrote in my journal. I've been trading for a long time, and I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. That feeling is worth naming. I think a lot of traders have it and nobody talks about it. It should pass with more experience. I hope. Bullish bias, price tracking higher and above previous day's value. I was sizing up a long towards 72.70s, which aligns with previous cash session high and with passive positions there to offload. I was waiting for a retracement back to the 50s to get long, and after a bit, I eventually got it. And I once again shaved off a partial before the target was met. I was terrified price might reverse on me. I eventually trailed my stop to the 72.60s. Not wanting to be in the trade if we broke below, price eventually hits my original target, and I sat there, frustrated. It would have been an amazing trade had I held. It was a 2R, which is not bad by any means, but I left money on the table. Don't know why this was happening, but I decided I had to ride this feeling out and keep pushing until the idea of holding becomes more natural. We opened way above any of my relevant levels, so I had to rely on the GEX level at 73.25s. Eventually, we got a headline from the Middle East come in that makes price explode through that level. On the delta, I saw a large amount of aggressive buying, and I enter along on the retake aiming for the 73.46s. Mid-trade, the node at 73.46s got removed. Most days, I take a partial there and call it done. Instead, I move the stop to break even, protecting the trade without cutting it. A new node shows up at the 73.44s, and I move my TP there to avoid being in the middle of nowhere. It hit for a massive profit. Thursday, still bullish, above previous day's value, VWAP sloping higher, looking for a long towards 74.15. I got in on a bounce at support and VWAP. Unfortunately, a larger node of orders showed up below my stop and I start considering removing my position, as it was unlikely to play out in my favor. I bailed for a small loss, and luckily for me, I avoid a larger one. I decide to wait and see if I can get a better entry around the 86s, but price decides to move higher without clearing that liquidity, and with that, I decide to step away. I don't feel comfortable longing with so much liquidity lower, and if I can't get a good read, I'm better off protecting my capital. Overall, I don't think I did anything wrong that day. Coming out with a loss sucks, but cannot be helped and is part of the game. On Friday, we opened inside previous day's value, VWAP sloping higher. I was waiting to see what price did above value area high before committing to a long, willing to take it from there to the 74.10s. Got my first stab long off of the 73.95 towards the 74.10s. Mid-trade, GEX updated, 7400s became a large call wall. That's a meaningful resistance and we needed to break through it to hit the target, so I sat in it for a few hours. Eventually, with a little help from NFP, we got a volatility spike that gave us the momentum necessary to make price break through. Every instinct was telling me to take something off. Lock in again, reduce the stress. I didn't, and it paid off massively, allowing us to end the week on a huge win. I think the most relevant take from this week is that trading is probabilistic. If your R ratio is right, and you let trades play out, you don't need a high win rate to be profitable. But every time you cut a trade early, you're not just leaving money on the table, you're actively breaking the math that makes your edge work. But without a way to visualize this on a larger scale, it's impossible to act on it. So I started keeping a record of my trade's outcome. Even though I don't have a sample size big enough to take anything meaningful yet, I noted the days where my gains decreased due to partials. And you can see how my potential profits shrunk because of it. In a particular instance, one of those trades even has a realistic R ratio of 1.25R, which falls below my minimum 2R return rule. I can't let that happen. Next week, I'm gonna keep trading this account and hopefully finish this challenge. That's it for this week. If you made it this far, consider dropping a like and subscribe. See you next week.